Imagine you're Microsoft and Gamesir wants to release a controller for your console that has Hall effect sticks and triggers, anti-friction rings, remappable back buttons, multimedia controls in the controller itself, and customizable faceplates. They had to make this controller worse than the original somehow, and so they forced it to be wired only. And here we are with the Gamesir G7 SE, a licensed controller for the Xbox Series consoles. The unboxing in this one is pretty cool. When you remove the seal, the box will open in all directions. As always, let's check out the manual. It is a wired controller, but to compensate that, you have a 3 meters long cable. That's a lot of cable. The G7 SE is very similar to the original Xbox controller, but it has some differences. It is slightly larger in the top, and the grips are more rounded. And you have a few differences here and there. The face buttons have rubber membranes, and they have a good travel distance and resistance overall. The front menu buttons have tactile switches, and you get a membrane Dpad here too. The original controller uses tactile switches. The shoulder buttons have tactile switches and they're easy to press at any point. And the triggers are super smooth, just like the original controller. The back buttons are also very nice and responsive. These two are easy to press at any point. And you have these switches here that are used to lock the back button in place. When the back buttons are locked, they are hard as stone. They won't move not even an inch. It almost feels like they're not there at all. On the bottom, you have the headphone jack and a microphone button. The D-pad also works as a shortcut for multimedia controls. And the analog sticks are super smooth. That's because it has these anti-friction rings. It greatly reduces the wear on the stick itself. And you can see that on the original controller. I haven't used it a lot and it's already showing a lot of wear. And just to show you how smooth it is, here's an ASMR moment. The front plate of this controller is also removable. You can customize it or buy different faceplates if you want. And you can remove the analog sticks very easily too. And it's very cool that you can already see the Hall Effect Sticks module without having to completely disassemble the controller. The rings can also be removed and replaced if you want. There is one problem with the USB-C port though. The original cable fits perfectly as expected. This other cable also fits in too. But this other one won't fit, so you can't use any cable with this controller. If you forget to take your cables with you, you might run into some trouble. Moving to the computer, it is detected as an X input device right away. And on the D-pad tests, it is a very good D-pad. One of the best membrane D-pads I've tested here. All of the diagonals are easy to hit, and you can easily press them by rocking your thumb on a single direction too. The triggers are not only smooth, but also very precise. And the analog sticks have no dead zones in the axis. And on the circularity test, it shows a great result too. To remap a back button, you must hold the back button you want, and then hold the M button. When the light starts blinking, press the button you want to remap, and you're done. To erase the configuration, repeat the combination, and then press the back button. And here's the test of the headphone jack and multimedia controls. Check the mute button. Hello, hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the mute button works. And you can even see the LED there showing it's muted. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, it's working. And of course, since this is a licensed Xbox controller, we have to test it on an Xbox. And here's the voice chat controls. You can use it to decrease or increase the game volume while chatting. And the trigger vibration works just as the original controller. And the Hall Effect sticks are great too. This controller also has a PC software, the Gamesir Nexus. Here you can customize profiles. You can remap any button you want. You can fully customize the sticks. This raw setting disables the outer dead zone. This can be good for some games, but it will also break the circularity tests. On the triggers, you have an option for hair triggers. The way it works is that instead of having to do full presses to fire shots in games, you can enable the hair trigger and activate and deactivate the button with a really short press. This way you don't have to release the button all the way to shoot again. And on the vibration tab, you can customize the vibration for each one of the motors. And you can feel the intensity by pressing the triggers. This option will force the triggers to vibrate whenever you press them. And this one will force the trigger rumble to rumble together with the lower rumble of the controller. Now for the teardown, all you have to do is remove the faceplate. Here you have 6 screws. You'll need a hexagonal screwdriver to remove those. When you remove the screws, flip the controller and remove the back shell. Here we can see the Dpad. And the face buttons are not swappable, which is understandable as this controller won't work with the Nintendo Switch. On the other part of the shell, the face buttons are protected with this plastic shield. This part is entirely plastic, and the rubber membranes are here. Quite interesting, and I wonder what it is for. Perhaps to ensure that the membranes will only get pressed in the center and making them more durable in the long term. But we don't have that mechanism on the D-pad though. There are membranes for the menu buttons, but they have tactile switches underneath. And here's the Hall Effect stick modules. They are K-Silver modules, and these modules are very good. They're also present in other controllers like the MobaPad T2 and the Nixie Wizard. The triggers has a metal rod in the pivot, and this is very good because it ensures the long durability. This metal rod will never break, unlike pivots with a plastic rod. Flipping the board, we can see the headphone jack. And there's a lot of things going on in this board, but you can see the metal shield to prevent interference on the left stick. And there's also the rumble motors for the triggers here. Here is the magnet for the Hall Effect sensors. And the triggers have this small rubber piece. This dampens the noise of the button when you release them. Here's the face buttons again, and you can see the golden contacts in the board. And lastly, here's the mechanism for the back buttons. It is quite complex, but it does make the back buttons really good. When you lock the switch, it completely blocks the back buttons. And the build quality is very solid too. I don't see this mechanism breaking at all. And that's it. This controller blows the original Xbox controller in every possible way, with the major downside being the fact that this is a wired controller only, and I can only guess that this was a limitation placed by Microsoft themselves. Imagine if this controller was wireless and it had a rechargeable battery inside. No one would be buying the original Xbox controllers anymore. In the end, Microsoft got jealous and said, "No sir, Gamesir, you can't have a wireless controller." The only thing that I would add to this controller is macro capabilities. Otherwise, this is a perfect controller for Xbox gamers. I hope you liked this review. I'll be leaving all of the links in the description. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, this helps a lot. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.